Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to each and every one of you who've joined us live on various social media channels. It's a bright Saturday morning, and what could we ask better than talking about the fundamentals of dental stem cells, right from its history to the science as well as its applications. We hope you all have been doing well. You have been doing safe in these unprecedented times of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, most of you all must have also started going back to your dental practices. Or probably most of you all might also still be in lockdown. Like for me, since I stay in the bustling city of Mumbai, a few places in Mumbai are still under lockdown. However, still places are currently functioning. And for those of you who've joined us from various parts of India, as well as from various parts of Middle East and Northern Africa and other places of the globe, I quickly want you to tell us your full names and the place where you're joining us from. For example, if you're joining us from Kerala, you can tell us your full name and that you're from Kerala. If you're joining us from Delhi, you can tell us your full name and that you're joining us from the beautiful city, or rather the state of Delhi. Thank you. Once again, a very good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us for this live dental webinar. Today, we have a very special speaker amongst us. She's known for her YouTube videos, for her awareness videos, as well as for what she's doing in the field of promoting oral health and hygiene. Her name is Dr. Shemi. Well, like I said, most of you all know her because you all are following her on her social media pages. But then for the ones who don't know her, it's my privilege to introduce and welcome our speaker for today, Dr. Shemi.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rupan, for your kind introduction. And a very good morning to all. I would like everyone to this webinar. And today we have here for the webinar on the topic, fundamentals of dental stem cells, history, science, and its application. It is one of the important topic which is researched around the globe due to its impact on regenerative medicine and tissue engineering therapy. And before going in detail, I want to clarify one thing that this webinar is mainly aiming at the undergraduate students, especially the dental students, so that these students will get awareness about these stem cells or the dental stem cells. If these people are interested, they can go for further higher studies or researches related to this topic. So here I included only the fundamentals and basic, which is related to the stem cells. So I would like to proceed my webinar. So this is the brief outline which is regarding my webinar. Firstly, I will give a brief introduction regarding the stem cells, their types, history, and all. After that, I will move ahead with dental stem cells, their types and their science behind them, their clinical applications, and some of the drawbacks, and finally ends with a conclusion and a summary. Firstly, what are stem cells? You may heard about the term stem cells. I request all the participants, especially the students, please comment their thoughts below. What are stem cells? They are actually some special cells, right? Okay, we can move ahead. The stem cells are specialized human cells. We know our body is made up of number of cells. Cells which are able to differentiate to form special cells that have a particular function also. If we take the case of a blood cell, like RBC, it have the function to carry the oxygen around the body, right? If we think about the stem cells, there are special unique cells that have the ability to differentiate to form different the unique property which is regarding the stem cells. If you look at this picture, you can see here it is a stem cells, right? The stem cells can differentiate to form sex cell. It can differentiate to form muscle cell. It can differentiate to form fat cell. or immune cell, epithelial cell. Likewise, it can differentiate it to form many varieties of cells. That are the property which is regarding that of stem cells that you have to know first. Then, this stem cell is also known as the toolbox of our body. What's the function of toolbox? We use this toolbox for something to repair, right? Likewise, when we think about the stem cells, it do the repair action of our body. When the stem cell grow, when it grow, it will divide and form more cells, right? So when it grow, it produce cells that will replace or it will repair the damaged tissue. That's the function of stem cells. That is why it is known as toolbox of our body. Actually, two unique properties regarding the stem cells that enable the stem cells act as this toolbox. First property, it is a stem cells can divide over and over again. You can see a stem cell, it can divide over and over again. The second property is that it can differentiate it to form different types of cell. We already discussed about that, right? So the stem cells can differentiate it to form a muscle cell, it can differentiate it to form a blood cell, it can differentiate it to form a nerve cell, even a cartilage, even a neuron, right? So these two properties enable the stem cells to act as a a toolbox of our body. When we are using this type of stem cells for such a treatment, for a repair of a tissue or an organ, such a treatment is known as stem cell therapy, or otherwise it is known as regenerative medicine. That is, the stem cell is used for the repair. That is stem cell therapy. Actually, it is a next chapter of organ transplant. Now we are what we are doing for an organ transplant. We are searching for a suitable donor for that organ. We are searching. But instead of that organ donor, we can create or we can develop that organ from that patient's own stem cells. That is promised by the regenerative medicine. That is the application of regenerative medicine. So, according to the NIH means National Institute of Health. According to them, the regenerative medicine is the process of creating living functional tissue to repair or replace the organ function lost due to age, disease, damage, or congenital defect. These are the that is regenerative medicine. Simply, we can say the regenerative medicine, which is utilizes the body on repair mechanism to replace or damage a diseased tissue or organ or any disease. That is regenerative medicine. For that, we are using stem cells. Visually, we can say a stem cell can be used for treat any disease or for cure any disease which is due to a defect or dysfunction of a tissue. That is, visually we can say it can cured by a stem cell. Then we can look into the history of a stem cell. There are many history regarding this stem cell. I included some of the histories, very important history, I think. So first, the progenitor or precursor cell. The stem cell are known as progenitor cell. That means it can generate, it can form, differentiate to form different kinds of cell, right? It's a clonogenic cell. It is a clonogenic cell which have the ability to self-renewal and also multi-lineage differentiation. That's why this stem cell is known as progenitor cells. So in 1868, the term stem cell was first used by Haeckel. Haeckel was actually a German biologist. He used this term stem cell in his work about a fertilized egg. He described that fertilized egg as a stem cell. In 1908, the term stem cell was proposed by Russian histologist Alexander Mustinov. He was postulated that there is an existence of hematopoietic stem cells during his a congress in the histological meeting at Berlin. Here, he introduced the term stem cell. In 1951, the first line of human cell to survive in vitro was established. In 1960, the hematopoietic stem cell from bone marrow was developed. In 1981, first embryonic cells was derived. And then the very important history is in 2006, that is induced pluripotent stem cells that we will discuss later. It was a human-made stem cell that was developed from a mouse cell in 2006. And in 2007, it was developed from human cell. That was very important history regarding that of stem cell. Then in 2008, In Spain, what happened in Spain? The first tissue engineered whole organ transplant was occurred. They developed a trachea from a dental stem cell. They developed a trachea for organ transplant. So it was very important one. Then in 2009, the first ever human clinical application was happened. It is for mandibular bone defect repair. For that, it was used. It was the first ever human clinical application. And in 2011, we are developed the islets of cell. Islets of cell means they are insulin producing cells. That cell is developed from that of dental stem cells. So it is actually a groundbreaking invention, right? Conventionally, we are using the diabetic patients using insulin shots. So instead of that, we are implanting this type of stem cells to the body of the patient, and we are treating the patient. So it was a groundbreaking invention. And also in 2011, other two important things was happened. First, the University of Columbia, they developed a new teeth from the dental stem cell. And in scientists from the Japan, they developed spinal cord in the mice from the human dental stem cells. And even in 2012, the University of Michigan, they regrow the jaw from the dental stem cells. And in Australia in 2030, they developed the neurons from dental stem cells. Here I mentioned few of the history. But from this history itself, it's very clear that the stem cells or the dental stem cells have a wide variety or wide range of application. They have a potential capability for this application and medicinal usage. So that's the importance of stem cell, or that's the importance of dental stem cells. Now we can coming to the types of dental stem cells. When we tell about the number of dental stem cells, there is no agreed upon the number of dental stem cells because one can classify based on their differentiation potential. That means to which it is turned to, or one can classify it is based on its origin. That means based on its source. So based on the differentiation potential, we can classify it as a totipotent stem cell. It can be a pluripotent stem cell, can be a multipotent stem cell, can be a oligopotent stem cell, or can be a unipotent stem cells. And based on the origin, it from the stem cells from embryo, or the stem cells from fetus, or the stem cells from infants, or the stem cells from adult. These are the basic classification regarding that of stem cells. The main focus of this type of classification is mainly what? To access the functional capability of these stem cells for their usage. That is the main focus for this classification. In this webinar, I am mainly aiming at this type of differentiation potential classification. So first one, it is totipotent or omnipotent stem cell. This is the first category, totipotent or omnipotent stem cell. This is the one of the most powerful stem cell that exists. It has the capability to differentiate it into both embryonic and non-embryonic tissue. That's the importance. So it can differentiate it to form chorion, yolk sac, amnion, etc. In the case of humans or the human-like placental organism, the placenta is actually derived from where? This totipotent stem cell itself. So there is a unique property or very important property which is regarding that of totipotent stem cell is that it can generate a fully functional living organism. That's very, very, very important property which is regarding that of totipotent stem cell. It can generate a fully functional living organism. The best example for this totipotent stem cell is a fertilized egg, which is formed by the fusion of egg and sperm. That is a fertilized egg. That is the best example regarding to that of totipotent stem cells. When coming to the next type, that is pluripotent stem cells, at the day or after 4 days after the fertilization, the totipotent stem cells is differentiated to form this type of pluripotent stem cells. It also powerful type of stem cell, but it can differentiate it to form different type of cell, but within a fully formed body. That's the thing. It can form cells within a fully formed body. It cannot generate a full organism, but totipotent cell can, but pluripotent cell cannot. That's the difference between main difference between this pluripotent and totipotent stem cells. So it can differentiate it to form three germ layers. The three germ layers, we know what are the germ layers: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. These are the three germ layers. So this pluripotent stem cells is differentiated to form the type of three germ layers. And the three germ layers further differentiated to form the tissue and organ within our body. That's what happened. The pluripotent can be a natural thing is there. Human-made pluripotent stem cells are there. There are several type of pluripotent stem cells are there. Among them, the best example or the important one it is embryonic stem cells. Also, there is a human-made pluripotent stem cell is there. Its name is induced pluripotent stem cells that we are discussed in the history session. That time I said that it is very important. Its invention is very important. That is induced pluripotent stem cells. So there will be natural. There is a human-made pluripotent stem cell. The best example for natural type it is embryonic stem cell. The human-made it is induced pluripotent stem cells. We can go in detail about the embryonic stem cells. The embryonic stem cells, we know they are pluripotent. They can be differentiated to form any type of the cells within a fully formed body. And it is actually derived from the inner mass of the blastocyst. What is blastocyst? It is actually a hollow mass of cell which is formed after 3 to 5 days after the fertilization. That is the blastocyst. From the inner mass of that blastocyst, we are deriving or we are obtaining this type of embryonic stem cells. This is the picture showing the image which showing the embryonic stem cells. Then the next category it is induced pluripotent stem cells. It is actually, we know it is human-made stem cells. So what they are engineered in the lab by converting tissue specific cell such as skin cell to a cell that behave like a embryonic cell. So what it will share many similar characteristics with that of embryonic stem cells, but they are not exactly the same. There are some differences, but it has a great potential for this differentiation. It can be used for the regenerative medicine or tissue engineering. And also due to its potential, is a critical tool for testing drugs, for understanding the development onset of the disease, and for testing the drugs and all. It is very critical tool in the regenerative medicine due to its great potential. The first induced pluripotent stem cells we are obtained from the mouse in 2006. We already discussed in the history part. And in human cell, it is from 2007. This image show induced pluripotent stem cells. The third category is multipotent stem cells. They are actually a middle range of stem cells. That means it can differentiate, it can self-renew, but to a specific range of cells. That's the thing. It has some limitation for its differentiation range. So due to some network problem, can I off my video?
Yes, please, ma'am. You can
Okay,
disable
thank
the
you.
camera.
Okay, thank you, Raman. So we can move ahead with multipotent stem cells. First, it is actually middle range. I already said it is a middle range. It can differentiate it to form a specific type of cell, but to a specific range. Then it's a best excellent example of this type of mesenchymal stem cell. Its best example it is mesenchymal stem cell. Students, you may heard about the term mesenchymal stromal, mesenchymal stromal cells. It is actually stromal cells. The stroma means it is the connective tissue which is surrounding the tissue and organ. From that stroma, we are obtaining this type of mesenchymal cells. That's why it is known as mesenchymal stromal cell. And it has differentiation potential, so it can differentiate it to form osteoblast, chondrocytes, adipocytes. The osteoblast means it's a bone cell, and adipocytes means it's a fat cell. Chondrocytes means it's a cartilage cell. This way, it can differentiate it to form different types of cell. But when we look into these structures like bone cell or cartilage or fat cell, when we look into this structure, you can understand one thing, that these cells are in diverse in their characteristic. That's why it is classified under the under multipotent stem cell. The cells which shows diverse characteristic. That's why it is classified under multipotent stem cells. This is the image showing a mesenchymal stem cell or the stromal cells. Then the fourth category, it is oligopotent stem cells. Oligopotent, it is almost similar to that, the prior category, the mesenchymal cell or the multipotent cell. Almost it is similar. But further it restricted its range of differentiation. That what happened. Further it restricted its range. So it can self-renew and differentiate it, but to a closed cell type. Then that type, they can differentiate it. The best example for this type of oligopotent stem cell it is hematopoietic stem cell. Hematopoietic stem cells actually we are obtained from the mesoderm. When we discussed about the germ layers, I said three type of germ layers are there: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. From that mesoderm, we are obtaining this type of hematopoietic stem cells, and it can further differentiate it to form the blood cells. Okay, both myeloid and lymphoid series it can form. In this picture, it is very clear that the hematopoietic stem cell can form both myeloid series and lymphoid series. The myeloid series mainly means what? The neutrophils, the basophils, the eosinophils, the macrophages, megakaryocytes, even the platelets. These are included in the myeloid series, right? Lymphoid series, it include what? The T cells, the B cells, the natural killer cells that are included in the T cell series. So this hematopoietic stem cells can differentiate to form this type of blood cells. Then coming to the final category, that is the unipotent stem cell, we can see it is the most restricted type of stem cell, that is the unipotent stem cells. The best example for this type it is muscle stem cell. Of a muscle stem cell, it can differentiate but to a single type, differentiated to a single type. That much restricted its differentiation potential, and also the differentiation it's unidirectional. So the muscle cell, it is the best example for this unipotent stem cells. This is the image which showing the muscle stem cells. Now we covered the all type of these the stem cells, and we saw the classification and all. Now we can coming back to the dental stem cells. So the name itself, it suggests what? A stem cell which is collected from the tooth. Simply we can say the stem cells which is collected from the tooth, we are known as dental stem cells. So the dental stem cells are the stem cells that are collected from tooth and other oral structures. So we know the structure of the tooth, right? It's a simple structure. The outside there is an enamel, inside there is a dentine, and very inside there is a soft living part of a tooth. What is that? That is pulp. In that pulp, we can see mesenchymal cells. Mesenchymal cell what? The stem cells. So the pulp of a tooth containing stem cells, that's the importance of dental stem cells. So in our oral cavity, we can obtain the dental stem cells from, we can collect from oral cavity, from teeth, from other parts like periodontal ligament, apical papilla, and dental follicles. From the teeth, it can be from deciduous tooth or wisdom tooth or permanent tooth. When we think about the dental stem cells, there are mainly 5 types of the dental stem cells are there. First one, it is dental pulp stem cells. That the name itself suggested that it is the stem cells which are connected from the pulp of the tooth. According to the regenerative medicine, it is the pulp stem cell we are collected from the extracted human third molar. And the second type, it is dental follicle progenitor cell. That means it is obtained from the dental follicle. Dental follicle, it is the mesenchymal cell which is surrounding the developing tooth germ. That is the dental follicle. From that dental follicle, we can obtain the dental stem cells. Then the other type, it is stem cells from apical papilla. The apical papilla of a immature permanent tooth containing the stem cells. So it has a great potential for differentiation. So we can use this type of stem cells for the regenerative medicine application. Then the fourth category, it is periodontal ligament stem cells. That means these stem cells we are obtaining from the periodontal space of this periodontium. From that, we are obtaining this type of periodontal ligament stem cells. And this type of periodontal ligament stem cells we can use for the regeneration of periodontal tissue, like the periodontal ligament or the bone or cementum, etc. The fifth category is stem cells from human exfoliated deciduous tooth. That is, we are obtaining the stem cells from exfoliated deciduous tooth. It also have the differentiation potential. It can differentiate it to form any type of the cells, include the muscle cell or bone cell, etc. Ruben, everything is clear, right? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Then when we think about the science behind the stem cell, now we discussed all the type of the dental stem cells. This is the image we showing that which we are discussed earlier. That is the dental pulp stem cell, dental follicular stem cells, and the dental stem cells from exfoliated deciduous tooth, and the dental stem cells from pulp. These are already we already discussed about that. Periodontal ligament stem cells. These are the type, and we now know what are the dental stem cells are. Okay. Actually, the dental stem cells are recently one of the widely researched area in dentistry. Ever since we identified a dental stem cells from this apical papilla or the deciduous tooth or the third molar, we are thinking about, or we are the storage, its storage and their use for the future medical application has been explored. We think about that. So the harvesting and isolation of these dental stem cells include various techniques. It need different investigators and laboratories harvesting and isolation so that we can see in detail. That is the science, main science behind that of the dental stem cells. First, we have to select a tooth for the extraction or for the sample selection, but it should follow some criteria, satisfy some criteria, right? So the main condition is that the tooth should be in a healthy condition. The tooth should be in vital condition. So then only we can get a sufficient amount, or we can get a appropriate dental stem cell from that tooth. So the tooth should be in a healthy condition. The second thing is that there is no pathology. There should not be any pathology for that tooth. These two are the main thing we should keep in mind when we can select the sample from both the deciduous and from the adult tooth. Okay, when we think about the deciduous tooth, the pulp should be in red in color. That means what indicates that red in color means indicate the blood supply of that pulp. Then the tooth-head of the root should be there. In deciduous tooth, the tooth-head of the root should be there. Then posterior deciduous teeth are not preferred. In the case of a posterior deciduous tooth, we know it has less pulp. Also, more retention in the oral cavity. There is more chance for infection. So that's the reason we are not recommended, not much recommended the posterior deciduous teeth. And the exfoliated, we recommended or prefer more the extracted tooth over the exfoliated teeth. Then when we think about the adult teeth, the primary condition is what? It should be in vital condition, should have a sufficient blood supply, and then there is no should not be any infection or pathology of the tooth. There should, if it is periodontally compromised, then also the tooth is not preferred. And make sure that the tooth has sufficient amount of pulp. These are the conditions should satisfy for a sample selection. So now we selected a tooth, right? Now we selected the tooth is satisfied all these conditions. Now we selected a tooth for this sample selection. Then what? Then the harvesting and isolation is key. Harvesting and isolation, now we selected the tooth. So first, the step is first examination. Then the dental surgeon should do a thorough examination. He should do a proper examination so that he should rule out any pathology or infection is there in around the scheduled area. He should make sure that his selection is correct. There is no pathology. The tooth is vital. Everything is okay. He should make sure that. After that, he can move ahead with that of extraction. But the extraction will occur only after we get the consent from the patient. If the patient is minor, then he should get the consent from the parents. So for that, maybe if the people are not willing for that stem cell storage and all, so he can give a brief introduction or the soft introduction regarding that of stem cells. He can say there are stem cells are in usage there, and I am providing, or I am planning to provide the services for my patient for their future medicinal needs. you can preserve or you can store your stem cells here, and it will use for future medical critical or notorious diseases like diabetic, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's. For this type of disease, you can use. It is already in use. It's the best option. Likewise, you can convince the patient and give a brief introduction about the stem cells. So you can, after getting the consent, you can. So while doing extraction, these things are keep in mind. First, the extraction should be carried out in a sterile environment so that the contamination of the extracted should to avoid. There is no contamination, the extraction should be carried out in a sterile environment. Then make sure that the teeth is perfectly healthy. Then only we can get a sufficient amount of the dental stem cells. Then, if you are preferring the wisdom teeth, then go for do not go for a surgical extraction. Better take it as a one piece, because during the extraction you gave care for to avoid the cracking or the breakage of the crown. That's why mostly people do not go for any surgical extraction. Then give a prophylactic antibiotic just before 1 hour of the extraction, and can give antiseptic mouthwash just before the extraction. These all are for to avoid the infection and all, to avoid the contamination and all. Wrapping and betadine prepping around the skin to be done. Then after that we are getting the tooth, right? Now we got the tooth. Then what the next step? Now we got the tooth here. Then what will be the next step? Then post extraction, now we got the tooth. Then we gently wash the tooth using 70% ethanol. By dipping it into a tube, you can gently wash that extracted tooth. Then rinse the tooth with phosphate buffered saline containing antibiotic. It's for by 5 or 7 times you can dip in the tube for the rinsing of this tooth. It is for to remove the ethanol from the tooth. For that, we are rinsing the tooth in a phosphate buffered saline containing antibiotics. Then after that, you can transfer this tooth to another tube and adding 2 ml of tooth preservation cocktail. This is actually depending upon the company to whom you are sending this content. It will depend upon that company. So adding 2 ml of tooth preservation cocktail to that of the tube, then leave it for 5 minutes. Then after that, add 1 ml of nourishment medium over the tooth preservation cocktail. And after that, you can seal the tube using a paraffin sheet. Then you can transfer this content to the laboratory as early as possible within 48 hours after the extraction. Then now we have the tube. Then the next step is tissue extraction or the pulp. For the extracting the pulp, it can be done either in the dental clinic. The retrieval can be either done in the dental clinic or in the laboratory. It's depending upon the condition. You can do either. So for the retrieval, we are using a precise technique. We precisely crack open the tooth for removing that of the pulp tissue. And after that, we are minced using a scalpel blade. And we are then digested using a collagenase solution so that we can get a single cell suspension. Then after we getting a go ahead with the cell plating. We can go ahead with the cell plating. But that cell plating, we can see only the mesenchymal stem cells are stick in the plate. Others will be washed off with the first media change. Muscle cell or the nerve cell or the bone cell, and any other type of the cell will be washed off with the first media change. Only the mesenchymal stem cells are there in this the cell plated plate. So now we get now we got a culture where the mesenchymal stem cells are maintained, right? So then we allow this culture to proliferate. Once a culture is established, the cells double approximately every 2 hours. We allow this expansion so that we can get sufficient amount of the cells for our future needs. So we allow this expansion of the number of cells. Then we can see a process law, which is the thing I discussed till now, the process of harvesting and isolation regarding the dental stem cells. I will discuss the first tooth extraction in the clinic. We are extracting the tooth in a sterile environment and which is satisfying all the condition, and we extracted the tooth. Now we got the tooth. After that, we are transported this tooth safely to the laboratory. There it undergo the isolation and dental stem cell lab, and then there is the retrieval of the pulp is occur. Then finally, they formed a single cell suspension using the collagenase solution. They form a single cell suspension. After that, they went for what? for cell plating. Then we can get a mesenchymal maintained cell culture we got. After that, we allow that culture to proliferate such that we can get a sufficient amount of stem cells. This is how we got the stem cells. Now the steps are over. Now we got the stem cell, right? The next step is how do we store this type of stem cells? This the term comes tooth banking. Tooth banking means it is not something like this. It is something like this. Means the tooth banking means it is the storage of dental stem cells which have the ability to differentiate by a cryopreservation and all. That is tooth banking. It is for the future medicinal use. Usually, we are storing this type of dental stem cells in a liquid nitrogen temperature, in a liquid nitrogen tank, and we are monitoring the inside temperature using real-time temperature monitoring system. And usually, this preservation is through cryopreservation. You all were heard about the term cryopreservation. It is nothing. It is nothing. It is nothing but it's a but cooling of the cells to a sub-zero degree temperature, almost negative 196-degree temperature and all, for that impending all cellular activity, so that we can preserve that cells for future needs. That is cryopreservation. We are preserving the tooth for future needs. This is the image showing the cryopreservation tanks. Then, what's the importance of stem cells? Now we see the stem cells. So imagine a world where a spinal cord injury can work, or in the case of an organ transplant, where instead of searching for a donor, we are injecting that of the stem cells to the patient, or we are producing that organ from the stem cell of that patient. In the case of a diabetic patient, think about, we are usually what we are doing. We are treated with insulin shot. So instead of that insulin shot, we are implanting that insulin producing cells to that patient's body. His or her own stem cell that is implanting to her body for treatment of the diabetes. So this type of invention or this type of hopes are envisioned by the NIH and HHS. The NIH means the National Institute of Health, and HHS means Department of Health and Human Services. Excuse me for 1 minute. So such promises are envisioned by them. And they are predicts that this regenerative medicine will be a revolutionized medicine. It will improve the quality of the life, and it will reduces the healthcare cost and all. And they are telling that this revolutionary technology has been potential to develop therapies for previously untreated diseases and conditions. For example, the diabetes, heart disease, renal failures, osteoporosis, and spinal cord injuries, etc. When we think about the dental stem cell, they are plastic in nature. That means it can differentiate it to form any kind of the cell. That means plastic. It has a wide range of application. When we heard the term dental stem cell, we will think, oh, it is only something related to oral health, right? No, nothing like that. The dental stem cell, it has a range which reaches overall health, because it is plastic in nature. It can differentiate it to form any type of cell, muscle cell, nerve cell, any type of cell it can differentiate it to form. So its application has wide range. Then virtually there is no chance of rejection. That means when during a routine dental procedure, we are isolating a dental stem cell of ours, then we are storing it for future needs. After that, during a treatment, we are reintroducing these stem cells to our body. Think about that situation. When we reintroduce such a stem cell to our body, this is our own cell, right? So our body do not recognize it as a foreign body. It will recognize or detect it as our own body. So there is no chance of rejection. Otherwise, if we go for another organ transplant, that time the patient have to take immunosuppressant throughout his life. It has undesired side effect too. So in case of this dental stem cell therapy, there is no need of taking such immunosuppressant drugs. Then non-controversial in nature. That means the dental stem cells are adult stem cells. When in the case of embryonic stem cell, there is some controversial and ethical problem is there. But when we coming to the dental stem cell, as it is the adult stem cell, there is no such problems. Then it is easy and convenient. The isolation and the storage, everything compared in the case of a dental stem cell, it is very convenient. It can do in the routine dental procedure, right? So the another factor it is pluripotent. It can differentiate it from any type of cell. I am repeating this factor many times because you have to understand the thing that dental stem cells have that much capability. Then cryopreservation. This is adult stem cell compared to any other adult stem cell. This dental stem cell have more capability for this cryopreservation. These are the main things which is beneficial about the dental stem cells. When we think about the application, I already said that it has wide range of application, not only for oral health. So it can use for heart disease to repair the cardiac muscles. It can repair for eye disease for use to sight after injury. It can use as skin graft and for nerve repair and in regenerative brain cells. In the case of a Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, we can use. And the replacement of bone, cartilage, tissue, because it can differentiate it to bone cell, cartilage cell, or the adipocytes, etc. This is an image which show an application of these stem cells where the Tokyo University, they actually implanted their stem cells in the body of a mice and they form the cartilage. You can see the cartilage, a ear-shaped cartilage they developed. So when we come into the dentistry, the application mainly were the revitalization of root canal treated tooth and tooth and root regeneration, the regeneration of periodontal tissue. It can be used for the periodontal therapies and TMJ reconstruction. Instead of go for a surgery and all, we can use simply this dental stem cells therapy. Then repair of craniofacial bones. Then alveolar ridge augmentation and long bone defect and mandibular reconstruction, then cell and organ model for studying, for understanding the correct eruption pattern and all, you can depend on the stem cells. Then forensic dentistry, we can use this. Then identification of rare subpopulation of cancers. For example, we can think about the submucous, that type of carcinomas, we can use the stem cells for identify the onset of the disease and the progression of the disease, the treatment of the disease. We can study using these types of stem cells. So this way it has a wide range of application. It has some drawbacks. It has a low survival rate. It has transport and isolation stem cells are critical. Challenges and methodology in clinical translation, and there is a chance of contamination during the procedure and all. Then trained expertise are needed in this field. The cost is way too high. These are some of the drawbacks. I agreed with that. But when we think about its hope or its application, it's every drawback. It's all drawbacks are overrun by its advantages. And now we can summarize this webinar in a short. We are discussed about what the dental stem cell or stem cell. Now there we see that it has the ability to differentiate it into any type of cell. It has a wide range of application. It is a field of future medicine, actually, a future medicine, a regenerative medicine, and it can be stored using cryopreservation and all. We can store these type of stem cells and we can harvest it from even a tooth. It's a minimal invasive procedure. We can harvest this type of stem cells for our future needs, and we can avoid the complicated procedure like the organ transplant and searching for a donor. We can depend on this type of stem cell and make the treatment more easier. And now there is the storage kits are available, so we can use in the dental clinic for more comfortable. It is more comfortable to storage and all. So this type, the dental stem cell is a good hope for the future medicine. These all are the things I would like to tell through my webinar. And I hope you get some of the idea about dental stem cells through this webinar. And I thank all the participants for your patience and your time. And I thank the Dental Channel Online for giving me this opportunity to present this webinar. And these are some of the reference I refer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chemi. Thank you for the wonderful webinar, giving us a very good insight on dental stem cells, its science, as well as its application. All right, that brings us to the end, since we don't have any questions. But ladies and gentlemen, just have questions, Please feel free to get in touch with us. You can always message us. We are always available for you dental professionals, for our dear students, and for everybody who comes under the dental domain. My name is Ruben, and on behalf of Team Dentist Channel, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Shemi, for giving us a wonderful insight this Saturday morning.
Okay, thank you, Ruben.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for participating. Please follow dentistchannel.online to know more about the next webinars. Goodbye and have a good day.